On to Ohaneze Ndigbo saga in Rivers State. APEC socio-cultural group of the Ikwerre ethnic nationality, Ogbakor Ikwerre cultural organization worldwide, has withdrawn all honors, recognitions and titles bestowed on Senator John Azuta-Mbata, the newly elected President General of Ohaneze Ndigbo worldwide. The decision was made due to Azuta-Mbata's acceptance of the Ohaneze Ndigbo leadership role, which the Ikwerre leadership considers a sacrilege against Ikwerre land and its people. The Ikwerre leadership has also barred Azuta-Mbata from participating in any activities in Ikwerre land, including meetings and political representation, starting from his hometown, Eneka community in Apara Kingdom. The drastic measure effectively describes Azuta-Mbata as a total stranger in Ikwerre land. According to the President General of Ogbakor Ikwerre Cultural Organization worldwide, as a barrister God's power on Wekine, the disciplinary measures were taken because Azuta-Mbata decided to contest the Ohanaeze Ndigbo presidency, a role he eventually won. The statement noted that Senator Azuta-Mbata's decision to contest and eventually emerge as the President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo was not the collective view, will, position, thinking of the Eneka community, Apara Kingdom, and the entire Ikwerre ethnic nationality. The statement partly says, having freely taken a position to be an Igbo man and to occupy the position of President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo, the Ogbakor Ikwerre Cultural Organization worldwide unreservedly and unequivocally disclaims and denounces his action, as such action is his private decision taken without the consent of his community, kingdom, and Iwuroha. As an Igbo man, he, Azuta-Mbata, is now seen, regarded, and declared as a stranger living in Ikwerre land. Therefore, he has been barred from participating in any Iwuroha gathering, meetings, or political representation starting from his Eneka community, Apara Kingdom, and Ogbakor Ikwerre Cultural Organization worldwide. All awards, honors, and titles bestowed on him by any organization in Ikwerre are hereby withdrawn. What do you make of this story?
Well, before now, the Ogbakor Ikwerre has come out to distance himself from the Ohaneze Ndigbo.
Ohaneze, yes.
And Senator Azuta-Mbata and a few others decided to go ahead with the election, including the likes of Barrister Okoko and others. They went ahead to contest the chairmanship position for President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo, and eventually Azuta-Mbata won. And the Ikwerre people, which I am part of, have said severally that for me, I don't have any issue for him contesting. But the people have said severally that whatever thing you are doing it as an individual. Do not drag the Ikwerre people into it. Everybody has the right to join any organization. But the people say, don't drag us into it. We are not part of the Ohanaeze Ndigbo. I'm sure that's where the disciplinary action is coming from, to have declared him a stranger, that he is no longer an Ikwerre man, that is now an Igbo man living in Ikwerre land. That's so far what the Ikwerre people have said. And also said that he is barred from taking part in any gathering, any Ikwerre gathering, starting from his own community, Eneka. But you know, Nigeria, for example, if somebody said, I'm not part of this, the way the whole thing is going is where I am no longer comfortable.
Okay.
The people have said, we are not part of Ohanaeze Ndigbo. And I don't know why it is difficult for somebody to respect the view or the position of a people. People keep saying, no, you are our brother, you are an Igbo, you are part of us. That's
some
where
Ikwerre people also hold the view that they are Igbos.
That's
so Ogbakor Ikwerre cannot be speaking for the entirety of the Ikwerre people, because there are Ikwerre people that do not agree with this ideology.
No, let's take an example in this your studio. There is a head and there are subordinates. If the head has taken a position, the position of the subordinate does not count. It is the position. If the governor of Rivers State come out tomorrow to say something, he's saying that on behalf of the Rivers people, whether you're comfortable with it or not. Whatever position he takes is for the Rivers people. It's the same thing applicable to the Ogbakor Ikwerre. The Ogbakor Ikwerre, the leadership of the Ogbakor Ikwerre is the apex decision-making body of the Ikwerre people. If they have come out to say Ikwerre people are not part of Ohanaeze, and it should be respected. Notwithstanding, what I know, that there are a whole lot of migration stories. Benin, Aro, Igbo and all that. But from what my grandfather told me, the Ikwerre people did not migrate from one source. We must tell ourselves the truth. Not everybody came from Benin, or not everybody came from Igbo. There are a whole lot of migration. Some came from Oba, some came from Ekpe, that's Ahoda. Some came from other parts of the country to settle in Ikwerre land. So some of those who came from probably Aro, from Igbo land to settle here, they have said no. They have continued to maintain their identity, that we are Igbo people. Though they may not be in majority, but they have constantly said they are Igbo people. And that should also be respected.
And then the Ogbakor Ikwerre, because it's the apex leadership for Ikwerre people, will now impose the Ikwerre lineage on them, even though they have said we are not of this. Then isn't that, if I may ask, when a leadership position or a leadership group or organization, takes a position that negates people's fundamental human rights, what does that make of it? What do you make of it?
It's either you pull out of that organization to say, I'm no longer here, my interest is no longer protected, I don't belong to this family. But so that you stand on your own, where your view, where your interest can be respected. Like I said, if somebody migrated from the Igbo land, let's say Imo State, for example, to settle in Ikwerre land, and there are aborigines, there are those who were there before the migrants came. That does not mean that you will change the identity of the people. From what we are told, that there were people here before some of these migrants came. And if they come and decide to maintain their identity, it's fine. I don't have issue with that. All of this place is just a temporary place for all of us. We will all die and leave this planet Earth, except those who will not die when Christ will come. But it shouldn't be an issue. This issue of where you
is it not an issue now for Azuta-Mbata and Ogbakor Ikwerre?
It should not. The only area I'm not comfortable with, where Azuta-Mbata, where they are saying the Ikwerre people are Igbo. That is just the area where I have issue.
Some Ikwerre people are still maintaining.
If anybody want to say I am Igbo, let it be for yourself. Don't impose. If the Ikwerre people, like I'm looking at the Ogbakor Ikwerre, have said that the Ikwerre people are not Igbo, that should be respected. If you say no, I'm an Ikwerre man, but I'm an Igbo man, it's fine. Don't say Ikwerre people are Igbo. That's
the question would be, the emergence of Azuta-Mbata, does it in any way impose the Igbo lineage on Ikwerre?
No, if you look at what our brother Livingston went and said, during that election, he made it clearly that why the position of Ohanaeze was known to them is because they are Ikwerre people, they are Igbo people. And that's where I think that needs to be corrected. We don't want to go into the whole lot of stories. This person is not this. It's not part of it's not part of my belief. But I think if the people have said they are not Igbo, it should be respected. If there are those among the Ikwerres that said, no, I have traced my lineage, I am from the Igbo, that should also be respected. Say, I am an Ikwerre man, but I am of Igbo, but that's fine. But when you say, because I am an Ikwerre man, Ikwerre is Igbo. That's where I'm not too comfortable. But again, somebody, why I was engaging somebody in a conversation in this topic, the person asked me that Barack Obama is from Kenya and he went to United States of America and became president. Does that make the Kenyan people American people? I said no. He also made mention of in the Bible when Joseph became a prime minister in Egypt. Does that make the Israelites Egyptians? No. So, but this thing should be correctly spelled out that if John Azuta-Mbata said I'm an Igbo man, fine. You shouldn't say because I'm an Ikwerre person. I don't. He is an Ikwerre man. There is no.
So
no
if
two ways
John
about it.
Azuta-Mbata, let's say John Azuta-Mbata is an Ikwerre man from Eneka community in Apara Kingdom,
yes,
and he's able to trace part of his ancestry to Igbo land, what is so bad about that?
There's nothing wrong.
If he decides, if he can trace his ancestry to Igbo land and decides to, you know, add value to the Igbo community, why is it an issue with the Ikwerre people?
There is no issue with that.
Why was his membership now withdrawn by Ogbakor Ikwerre?
That's the point I'm making.
Isn't that an extreme decision?
But those who are doing Ohanaeze among the Ikwerres, they are saying that they are in Ohanaeze because the Ikwerre people are Ohanaeze. That's the position. Which I have said that. That's the position of John Azuta-Mbata too.
The judge, can you quote Judge Azuta-Mbata saying that?
Well, I don't have.
You cannot judge John Azuta-Mbata in this instance, going by what another person has said. Now, interestingly, Ohanaeze, Ogbakor Ikwerre, you know, worldwide, has taken this position against John Azuta-Mbata. But I have not heard anywhere that they took the same position against Okuku, who also contested.
Okuku has been suspended long ago.
Who also contested. Suspension is different from this. This is one would say removing him from Ogbakor Ikwerre, removing titles, recognition, denouncing him, banning him from you know, socially relating with his people, banning him. I mean, the Livingstone Weche, I have not heard that this move has been made against him as well. So one would ask, to what intent and purpose? What does this intend to achieve in the long run?
Well, maybe because Livingstone Weche is not the President General. The focus here is the President General. I'm sure that's why they have to take this extreme measure against Senator John Azuta-Mbata, because there are also other Ikwerre people who have said Ikwerre are Igbos. They are part of what the Ohanezes are doing. But for me, I don't have any issue with that. Anybody can belong to anybody. I've said severally. Even in my own community, we have Igbos among us. They have lived with us for years. In fact, they are part of our family. We share farmland, we share land with them. But we know that their ancestry is Igbo.
And let's also talk about intermarriage. The fact that Ikwerre people in River State, now you're laughing. Ikwerre people in River State, particularly the Ikwerre men in River State, marry Igbo women a lot. Maybe because the Igbo women are very pretty. Now, to a large extent, don't you think that this might have, you know, spillover? It might have effects. It might strain the relationship between the Igbos and the Ikwerres in River State. No,
it should not.
Don't
the Igbo people
are
one. In fact, the Ikwerre people cannot do without the Igbos. The Igbos are everywhere, not just the Ikwerre people, everywhere in River State we have the Igbo people all over us. You can barely differentiate an Igbo. In fact, so many of them have, they don't even, year to year, they don't go back to their communities. They live, some of them were born and brought up in Port Harcourt, in the River State. They have become part of us. Some are very close, they are even more closer to us than our family members. So it is very difficult to differentiate between the Igbo man
now,
and the Ikwerre man. So, but
thing.
I don't also
don't
wish...
you think that Ogbakor Ikwerre taking this position, you understand, and you know, it could have been one thing to say them and to debunk and refute these things, and another thing to actually go out of their way to, you know, take this decision against Azuta-Mbata. Now, I am looking at how the Igbo person will interpret this. I'm looking at how the women married to Ikwerre people will interpret this, because this appears to be tricky, considering that rarely will you get to an Ikwerre family that you cannot point out to children that can trace their lineage to the Igbos because of the extent of the intermarriage.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Even similarities in culture and all of that. Rarely will you go to an Ikwerre man's house without seeing Igbo tenants, I mean in numbers. You know, rarely will you go to a community without seeing Igbo men who have bought lands and built and also added value to the Ikwerre community. Yeah. Now with the Ogbakor Ikwerre taking this stand, you know, that's where I am concerned, how it will spill over to the relationship between the Igbos and the Ikwerres, particularly in Rivers State.
Well, I understand your concern, but I think there should be a roundtable where some of these things can be resolved. Because as an Ikwerre man, I don't intend having an issue with the Igbo people. Like I said, they are all over us. If you come to my own family, we have about 3 or 4 of our wives. They're from Igbo. Right. So how do we do away with such people?
What does that make the children born by those?
So it's very difficult.
Can they trace their lineage to Igbo as well? Because of their mothers?
No,
they can say my maternal home is from so and so. So that's part of their family tree.
That's fine. But the fear is this. You know, the Ikwerre, when it comes to the South or the old Eastern region, the Ikwerre people were classified under the minority.
So the fear is being submerged.
That's why the Ikwerre people do not want to. They want to maintain their identity. They say no, even if we are friends, even if we are married, we have come a long way. Please let there be boundary that you are of the Igbo. I'm of the Ikwerre.
Has that conversation been had?
No, but again, from what I was told, the Igbo people did not also do well during the Civil War. It was what happened during the Civil War that taught Ikwerre people a whole lot of lessons. That also happened in my community.
What happened
during the Civil War? Though I was not there, but the footprints are all over. It was as if the war was between the Igbos and the Igbos and versus the Ikwerre people. Lots of Ikwerre people were killed. Ikwerre communities were changed. The Igbo people took over some of our land and named it after them.
During the Civil War.
It happened during the Civil War, yeah. So, but after the Civil War, when the Nigerian troops defeated the Igbos, that the Ikwerre people now saw opportunity. They took over their land and insisted that they would not give the Igbos another chance. In my community, we have what we call abandoned property. Abandoned property.
I was actually coming to that.
Yes, those properties, I must tell you, those properties were built by the Igbos. But they did not buy those lands because of the then regional government that was domiciled in Enugu. They used that opportunity to get approval for some of those lands against the wishes of the local community. So during the war, they left those property and the community people took over those land. It is not just in my community. It's the same thing applicable in Obiabo and so many parts of Rivers State. That is why the Ikwerre people have insisted. They would say no, we cannot.
And also during the Civil War, I was also told of stories, because I mean histories, even though some of them may be tainted and some of them may be real, because I mean hand over, and unfortunately history is not being discussed in our educational curriculum anymore. So but I was also told of a story, particularly the role of Adaka Boro during the war and how it negatively impacted the Igbos. during the Civil War. And that's on one hand. And also about the abandoned properties. Now, the story I heard was entirely different. And it was that these lands were actually Igbo lands, and they bought those lands. And there was one, there were buildings by Odumegwu when you're going to my one area. You know, I've been shown those buildings as well. They said this one, it belongs to Odumegwu and all of that. So now I have heard stories of abandoned properties that, you know, the Ikwerres took over from the Igbos and refused to release it after the war. And they said that these properties belonged to Igbos and they developed these properties. This was long before that war happened, and they bought those properties. Now, you are saying that the history handed over to you is that they did not buy the land.
Yes.
However, that they used the influence of the eastern region that was domiciled in Enugu to take over those lands against the will of the Ikwerres.
Yes.
Now, the information I have is that these
They
lands,
bought those lands.
they bought the lands and developed it. But then after the war, Ikwerre people took over those properties and they couldn't access it anymore. Now, these are stories that have been handed over. But interestingly, the Ikwerres and the Igbos, despite all that bad blood during the war and after the war, have been able decades down the line to, you know, live in peace. Now, this is why this issue now is troubling. You know, going by this move by Ogbakor Ikwerre, and won't it bring back, you know, memories? Won't it cause issues? Remember that the people that fought the war, most of them are still alive.
I know.
And, you know, these are wounds. Won't it open old wounds between the Igbos and the Ikwerres again?
Let's just pray it does not get to that point. But like you said, West Livingstone, when he said the Ikwerres are Igbo, he did not say that in his house. I just remember. He said that in the gathering of Ohaneze. Meaning that that's the position of the Ohaneze. That the Ikwerre people, so an average Ikwerre man will see it as an annexation of the Ikwerre land by the Igbo. So why not we continue to live the way we are? The Ikwerres, not just Ikwerre, Rivers people and Igbo people, they have come a long way. We cannot do. Where do you say? Have you go to Ikoku? Go to my tree. Come to my community. If you go to the local market in my community, 70% of those doing business in that market are Igbo people. So how do you differentiate the Igbos from Rivers people? So we have come a long way.
Don't you think this calls for a roundtable conversation?
Don't
you think this should call for a joint conference? You understand, instead of, you know, this issue? Because I mean,
that would be fine, but the Ohanaeze should also be mindful of the way they say some of this things that the Ikwerres.
When you say the Ohanaeze should be mindful, when you say the Ohanaeze should be mindful, it's also very important that you know that the people saying that Ikwerre is a part of the Igbos are Ikwerre people.
No, it's not just Ikwerre.
Well, Livingstone, last time I checked, is Ikwerre. Okuku, last time I checked, is Ikwerre. Yes.
You also have seen a lot of internet content who have said that Ikwerre people are Igbo people.
Ikwerre people, some Ikwerre people in River State are saying they are Igbos.
I have not.
And these are people that are in Ohaneze, Ndigbo. That's what I'm saying. Is it not time to actually call for probably joint conference or whatever to have a conversation and a way to move forward?
That's fine. We can do that. But like I said, before the Ikwerre people are saying that Ikwerre people are Igbo, there are Ohaneze people who are also saying that Ikwerre people are Igbo. So you see the
Ohaneze, some Ohaneze are saying Ikwerre people are Igbo because some Ikwerre people are saying they are Igbo.
Okay, so okay.
Don't you? It is not my position. I am being very realistic.
Because the Ohaneze are saying, the Ohanezes are responding based on what the Ikwerre people are saying. Maybe that's what you mean.
When a set or a faction of Ikwerre people say they are Igbos and they can trace their genealogy to Igbo land, they have that right, even enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution, to freedom of association. Let's even establish that. They have that right to freedom of association. even persons, even on that, let me even inform you, even under Nigerian constitution, when a person lives in a certain state for a number of years, you are actually eligible to contest election in that state.
Yeah,
you are eligible to every entitlement and right of the aborigines of that state, which automatically makes you a citizen of that state. Let's make that clear. These things are constitutional. They are.
But that's not the point.
No, hold on. So now, when let's say an Igbo person who has stayed long enough in Ikwerre land says, I would rather want to be recognized as an Ikwerre, under the law, the person can actually push for that, right? Now, if someone who can trace, now this is different too. This is someone who has no link to a particular state, laying claim to rights of the indigenes of that state. However, this now, for people who are from Ikwerre but can trace their ancestry to Igbo land and say that, okay, they are Igbos, they believe they are Igbos, you cannot deny them that right to belong where they want to belong. You can't deny them that fundamental human right of association. Now, that which brings me to the questions. You have explained how, interwoven the Igbos and the Ikwerres are, how it is literally difficult, to separate these two persons or these two tribes. Is it not time to find a way to, end this amicably, resolve this amicably, than, this harsh move by Ogbakor Ikwerre? Because I'm looking at the after effect in the long run.
Well, like you have suggested,
history does not forget.
I think I agree with you. There is need for the Ikwerres and the Igbos to sit down and resolve some of these things. But I don't know, is it just, I don't think it's just the Ikwerres. There are other ethnic groups in River State that one can say we have seen similarities, or we have seen traces of Igbos in you. But the focus here is the Ikwerre people. That's why the Ikwerre people are saying, what is special interest about the Ikwerre people?
One would say the Ikwerre people, the dialectal variation of Igbo language. One,
what about
you cannot.
What about Eche?
There was once a king of Opobo that was from Igbo land. I hope you know that was not
original. These things are happening. In recent time, it has always been Ikwerre. If you go to Ndoni, where Dr. Peter Odile came from,
who are the people raising the Ikwerre dust?
It's the Ohaneze. Including those
who
from
are the
Ikwerre
people? Now, let's even look at...
when we say Ohanaeze, we push it back to those
let's look at the genesis of this crisis. When the Ohaneze President General died, Iwanyanwu, after he died, the rivers, Ohaneze Ndigbo na rivers, actually started, saying that it is their turn, it is rotational. Now it is the turn of River State to, for President General to come to River State. And they also went ahead to, say how to list out the value they've brought to Ohaneze Ndigbo over the years, how their sons and their daughters have taken, pivotal positions and also, helped, to the growth and development of Ohaneze Ndigbo. And to a large extent, the people that contested were not Igbos living in Ikwerre land or Igbos living in River State. The people that contested are core Ikwerre people. And they were the ones that were agitating that the position of the President General should be zoned to them. And that happened. So it's not that when you talk about Ohaneze Ndigbo, we push it to... No. This is a reality.
Now, when you say they are core Ikwerre, we have defined all that. That it's possible that my ancestry is from is traceable to the Igbo, but I'm an Ikwerre man. So who knows whether is the case
in Azuta-Mbata's matter? Well, at the end of the day,
but
it still boils down to intercommunal relations and how it's going to affect
the
Igbos and the Ikwerres moving forward.
The Igbos, not just the Ikwerre people and Rivers people, have come a long way. And if you ask me, I enjoy my relationship with the Igbos, those I have come in contact with. They are nice people, they are industrious, even if they classify we Ikwerre people as lazy people. I don't mind. But they are very good people. And I wish that we continue
to live in harmony.
But the Ohanaeze thing seems to bring division between the Ikwerre people and the Igbo people. So, but I think there is need for a round table where some of these things can be addressed.
Right.
Because what the Ohanaeze did to Senator John Azuta-Mbata, we may not know, but it's really not a good thing. Where
for the Ogbakor Ikwerre,
you have been excommunicated from your own community. It's really, like you said, it's extreme. But I think if there's a round table, some of these things can actually be addressed.
All right.
So that we'll continue to live. Like I said, this place is just a temporary place for all of us. Those who fought the war, so many of them are no more. They've died. One day, you and I will die. So, and the world will continue. So there is no point killing ourselves.
All right, very well.